Well, my name's Tim Gillis, and I've had some amazing things happen to me since I've become a member of Trinity. And one of them was the idea when I first walked in the door, that I just felt accepted for who I was and where I was in my journey. And there were a number of different options that were presented to me that could help me on my journey. And one of those was the idea of you're designed uniquely and you bring something special to the world. And so I started with that and understanding my unique design. But the thing I had no idea that was going to lead to was this, as I understood my unique design and zeroed in on it with the tools that were made available to me, that I would start to expand and transform other people. And the particular person that comes to mind is my brother. Him and I drifted apart, and there didn't seem to be much we had in common. When we did get together, there were arguments and fights over who was right and who was wrong. But that work that I had done on my own transformation started to made me see that I wasn't the only one that was uniquely designed. My brother was uniquely designed. And when I started to listen to his story, it became easier for us to talk about the things that had caused us to drift apart. And I learned to listen to him. And I learned to hear his story. And I learned to understand more about his hurt, and meet him where he was hurting. And I think in reality he started to understand where I was hurting and met me where I was hurting. And through that process, we started to grow together. And it's, if I go back and think about time frames, it was maybe June of this year. He was going through a particularly tough time where he'd made some bad choices and the same pattern he'd been in. Left his family, went to Missouri, was going to pick up and do everything differently. And I don't know, somehow we came together, and I started to hear his hurt, and he changed his mind and undid all those decisions, those poor choices he had made, came back home. And we got together on the boat. We started meeting on the boat, and he started talking about, we talked about things that we were not able to talk about before. And it was really, and from my perspective, it was my ability to listen for that uniqueness of his and to meet him where he was hurting. And one of the things that he mentioned to me was, Tim, I want to learn more about the faith that you have. And he asked me if I knew about some men's groups, and I said, well, I don't know, but I'll look around a little. Maybe I can help you with that. And then a couple of days later, we were talking about the next week meeting on the boat, and he said, gee, he said, I've been thinking. He said, maybe you and I could be a small group and just talk about the Bible and about what you know, the stories that are important to you and what's important to me. And so we started doing that, and I don't know where it's going to end up, but it's just a great place to be, with a brother who I had lost, to come back to him and see what has happened in that time. I mean, time frame wise, that was back in August, maybe June, July period that we started connecting more. And I just talked to his wife recently, and she said, yeah, this has been the best 15 weeks of our 20-year marriage. You know, and my brother says that about, this is the most joy he's had in 15 years. And when I started this journey, I had no idea that something like this would happen. I think the other piece of it for me is that now that I understand my unique design, some of the things that I'm working with the Trinity staff, particularly Jody, is this idea of spiritual practices to get in touch with what God wants me to do with those unique gifts. And again, I don't have any idea where that's going to end up, but I do know that it goes like this, that went to that focus, and now I'm going out like this and helping transform other people, continuing transformation with myself, but touching other people in a much deeper way than I ever have in my life. And it feels good to me. It feels, the rewards of that have been, well, I used to be searching for those rewards, the money and the status and all that, which were never lasting. It's just, there's a contentment inside me, with a joy and a peace that make life a much more exciting journey.